Since June of 2025, the countries in South Asia have been faced with record-breaking monsoon floods. What used to be a normal rainy season has turned into devastating force. Today I'll go through how it began, how it has affected people, as well as what has been being done to alleviate the effects. Flooding in South Asia is not new. It's a recurring problem. Records show that monsoon floods date back to the 1950s in Pakistan and the 1980s in Bangladesh. They have also happened since 2022 and 2025. However, the more recent ones are completely different in their intensity and scale. As Takahashi explains, extreme rainfall, especially shown in this diagram, where the extreme rainfall has been seen with a huge peak, and over here where the daily rainfall also shows many peaks, which is not normal. The system that has once nourished crops now threatens millions of lives. This relates to the hydrological cycle that we have discussed, where the continuous movement of water has been affected by climate change, where the increase in evaporation has led to increased atmospheric moisture, and therefore harsher precipitation and therefore flooding. According to Chakraborty, regions like Andhra Pradesh and Telangana have shown increased trends in daily rainfall, as shown in this diagram, where the daily rainfall is above the 95th percentile, especially in recent years. The warmer temperatures have caused more evaporation from oceans and lands, and this loads up the atmosphere with water vapor. The water vapor then turns into intense precipitation. This intense precipitation is extremely bad for ecosystem services and the natural benefits that we rely on. Floodplains that usually store the excess water are being overwhelmed, and wetlands are losing their ability to filter and slow runoff. Forests that hold soil are being damaged as well. According to Rahman, there is also a disruption in the nutrient cycling. As shown, this is an example of a healthy versus waterlogged fields. Topsoil is being washed away, and due to the fertile topsoil being washed away, there's also a reduction in crop yields. Although in the beginning of the flooding, the nutrient-rich sediment may seem helpful, however, the increased amount of waterlogging, as depicted in this image, cuts off oxygen to the soil and leaves it infertile. This diagram shows how much of a loss the agricultural industry is facing in Pakistan specifically. Due to the disturbed dynamics of the agricultural industry, humans have also been impacted. Villages are being destroyed, and dozens are being killed, and thousands are being displaced. A Pakistani farmer said, "As the rain poured, one side of our house just gave away." These people are being faced with extreme problems that are only being worsened in urban areas due to the lack of natural flood buffers. The loss of regulating services, such as flood control and water purification, is also a problem. And the loss of provisioning services, as discussed before, through the increased amount of water logging, it can damage the food and clean water that humans rely on to survive. This is a diagram of the amount of loss and damage just in the agricultural subsector in the time that the flooding has become more and more prevalent. In response to this, the government and NGOs have started to develop adaptation plans, such as better drainage, green infrastructure, and land use management. By restoring ecosystem services, doing things such as replanting mangroves and rehabilitating wetlands, the water cycle can be stabilized naturally. This diagram shows the amount of preparation that cities in Pakistan are now trying to take place in before the floods. Local volunteers strengthening embankments and restoring coastal vegetation is also a nature-based way on how to reduce future flood risk, as well as increasing preparedness in those affected. Today, the waters have started to recede from the floods, however, millions still remain displaced. This diagram shows how things have progressed to this day, with first the hydrological cycle being imbalanced, to then climate extreme, leading to climate extremes, and therefore a loss of nutrient, and therefore to a loss of ecosystem services, and therefore nutrient disruption. The nutrient disruption has also then hurt the environment as well as humans. The cause and effect chain also connects with all the module topics that we have discussed. In order to break it, however, making sure to use sustainable water, making sure to go through with sustainable practices and ecological restoration is important. Although there are still food shortages and recovery today in those areas, efforts are still being made in order to help the people being affected by this disaster. Some efforts by affected regions in Pakistan are shown right here, in 2 different cities. What we can take away from this is that the South Asian floods are completely different than just a normal natural disaster. It's to show what happens when climate change changes the water cycle, and when we neglect the ecosystem that protects us, it comes to bite us back. Although humans are resilient, it is still important to go through with sustainable practices and restore wetlands so that we can help rebuild the natural balance. The rain has given lots of life, however, it can also take it away. Making sure to support sustainable practices and restore the cycles are one of the only ways that we can further prevent the loss of further life in situations such as these.